guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is all about my reverse diet. So I'm going to be taking you through every single week of my reverse diet, including what I do, why I'm doing it, and how I'm going to complete it. First things first, just a little bit of an introduction into reverse dieting and what it actually is. So obviously when you go into a calorie deficit, you are essentially obviously losing body fat. So you're maybe increasing your energy expenditure, maybe you're dropping your calories or energy input, and you're increasing your energy output, essentially to be in a calorie deficit. But obviously as you get further into that deficit, you have to push harder and harder. So you have to maybe drop your calories more, maybe increase your expenditure more. But obviously when you get to a point where you have your desired result, how do you then maintain it? Because you can't keep on those low calories and that high energy expenditure forever, because you would just continue to lose weight. Or you'd plateau, but then you'd be stuck on low calories, high expenditure, and just not really living your life. So we go through a process that is called reverse dieting, and this is essentially where we reverse the dieting phase. So when you diet and you're in a calorie deficit, obviously you start at a number that is going to be sustainable for you. So as an example, this here is your calorie intake and this here is your energy output. Your energy output is going to consist of several things. It's going to consist of your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, which is the calories burned at rest. It's going to be your TDE, which is total daily energy expenditure. So that is your BMR. It's going to be your body's processes. It's going to be your movement, your steps, every little thing that you do. And then obviously your energy input is literally the calories into your body. So let's just say that this is your output and this is your input. Obviously here we have a big deficit. Over time, this output is going to decrease because not only do you now weigh less, so your body needs less energy, but also due to metabolic adaptation, your body's processes are going to slow down. Your body's going to burn less calories during workouts. Obviously, you're not going to be eating as much, so you're not going to burn as many calories through digestion. And this output is slowly going to come down. And this is why we get to a point where we plateau. Then we have a couple of choices. We can either increase the output, so maybe up your steps, up your energy expenditure, maybe increase your workouts, increase your cardio sessions, or you can drop your calories, or you can do a little bit of both. So when you get to this point where you plateau, you can either then, like I said, drop your calories or increase your energy expenditure. So obviously that then brings that back up. But then obviously you get to a point again, of course, it's going to plateau because metabolic adaptation keeps happening. So then you are going to get to a point in which your calories are quite low and your energy expenditure is quite high. Obviously that is not a maintainable level. It's there to get the desired result. And then what we have to do is reverse this. So we then have to basically drop this energy expenditure whilst bringing your calories back up and get them to a good maintenance level. So we essentially reverse this metabolic adaptation. How do we do it? How do we reverse diet? How do we reverse this metabolic adaptation? First things first, we look at slowly increasing your calories. If you suddenly jump up by a lot, obviously you are a lot more likely to gain fat. So we have to increase it by roughly 50 to 100, maybe even 150 each week to gradually build it up. Obviously the exact number that you build it up by is going to vary depending on you. Depending on how much cardio you've done, you could also drop that cardio down as well. And obviously steps as well, depending on how high your steps were, we would likely drop them down as well. So for example, for myself, I started off with, by the end of my cut, I was doing 14,000 steps and I was doing 3 cardio sessions a week. I have now dropped that to 1 to 2 cardio sessions a week and 12,000 steps, and I'm in week 2 of my reverse. That will drop further, so my aim is to drop down to kind of 10 to 11,000 steps. That's like a good level for me, and still continue to kind of do 1 cardio session per week, but obviously bring my calories up to a good maintenance level. So the idea is you are slowly decreasing your expenditure and you are slowly increasing your input to raise your BMR, speed your metabolism back up again. Ensure that you have fuel to put into your training session, so you are going to be able to perform better, which is going to mean that you're going to be burning more calories because you're going to be eating more, so your body's going to be digesting more. So there's all these kind of little things that we have to consider, but that is essentially how we reverse diet. We basically reverse this metabolic adaptation. So we basically raise your maintenance calories back up to a good level, which is sustainable for you, which means you can perform well, you can live your life, and you can just have more freedom and more flexibility. You do not need to stay in a calorie deficit forever in order to maintain your results, I promise you.
So we are on the 5th day of the reverse diet, and it is fair to say that this week has not gone to plan. So started off with just really bad hay fever towards the beginning of the week, and then on about kind of like Tuesday, Wednesday I think it was, started to feel really unwell, feel really kind of like run down, just nothing, like just neck ache, sore throat, like earache, headache, you know the drill, all of that jazz, which basically meant I had to just basically decide not to do my workouts this week. It also meant that kind of towards the beginning, middle of the week, it became really hard to actually eat as well. So I started off the week strong, but then yeah, my calories have I've just not been getting them in, essentially, because it's been quite hard to eat. And but also then obviously my energy expenditure has also been lower as well. So my weight is honestly fluctuating up and down like there's no tomorrow, but obviously it's only been 5 days, so I have no idea kind of what I'm going to be averaging, what's going to happen and things like that. But also as well, this is not like a realistic week. The reason that I'm sharing this is literally just to show you that things don't always go to plan. Like, life is not perfect, and that's okay. Like, sometimes stuff like this happens. So I'm basically going to take the rest of this week just to kind of rest. I'm still not feeling very well. And then next week then we'll kind of get back into it, probably with the same calories, the same steps and things like that I'd planned for this week. But obviously this week has been a little bit of a write-off. But we're still counting it. It's all a learning curve. So yeah, I shall see you next week when hopefully I will have a little bit more of a successful week and I have more to share.
So week 2 of the reverse, how is it going? What are we doing? So you would have seen obviously earlier on in this video that week 1 did not go to plan. I was unwell, so everything I kind of had planned went out the window a little bit. So this week I have gone in with the exact same numbers. So for me personally, I have increased my calories by 200. My steps I have dropped by about 2,000 per day. So they were on 14,000, I'm now aiming for 12. And my cardio sessions have dropped from 3 a week to 1 to 2, but I am now also doing more kind of like functional work within my sessions. And so far, my body weight is pretty much maintaining, which is good. The biggest thing about maintenance and with any kind of like weight target in general is it's a range. You're not going to get to one weight and maintain that weight forever. Like, you're just absolutely not. You can get on the scales after like a higher carb meal and the scales are going to go up by quite a bit. You could, depending on where you are in your cycle, depending on, so many different factors, that's going to impact obviously the range that you're in. You're never ever going to stay exactly the same weight. So after you come out of a deficit, it's completely normal to gain like roughly 1 to 2 kg, and that is still within your maintenance range. That is not a kind of, oh my god, I've gained weight, I've ruined all my progress. That is still within a maintenance range. So for me, gaining kind of 1 to 2 kg is literally just part of the process. My body still like physically looks the same, my measurements are still holding, everything is still pretty much where it needs to be, but I am really enjoying having kind of more fuel. The only struggle I think I've had, not really a struggle, the only thing that I've kind of struggled with ever so slightly is the managing my hunger. Obviously when you come out of a deficit, and I wasn't in, like, I didn't drop my calories really low, but when you come out of a deficit, obviously there is that initial period of like, oh my god, like now I've got more freedom, I've got more flexibility, I can do this. But actually what that can mean then is that you don't properly listen to your hunger signals. So you can maybe like, eat when maybe you don't need to, maybe you're not kind of like listening to your body. So something that I've really had to kind of like work on is still prioritizing my protein, still prioritizing whole foods, really make sure I'm still bulking out and kind of like volume eating, with like veggies, with salad, with fruit and things like that. And just really making sure that I'm listening to my body and my hunger signals. So enjoying those extra calories, but also still being mindful, because that's definitely something that it's definitely an area where I've gone wrong in the past, and I've just I've not reversed out of the deficit properly, which meant that I have kind of regained body fat. Obviously, when I came out of my last deficit, I then went into a bulk, so obviously I was going to gain body fat, but I did learn a lot about kind of me and how my body handles the reverse. So I'm feeling good about this one. So these are the changes that I've made for week 2. Obviously calories are up by 200 from my deficit. My steps are down by 2k now, down to 12k, and my cardio sessions have been dropped by 1 to 2 per week. So I was doing Stairmaster 3 times a week for 30 minutes. I am now not doing Stairmaster anymore. I'm now doing 1 to 2 runs and doing more kind of functional work in my sessions. To be honest, the functional work in my sessions is not from a kind of like cardio perspective. It's just because I want to mix up my training a little bit. I have, like, full transparency, got a little bit bored of kind of bodybuilding style training. I kept it going and kept doing it during my deficit just because I was committed to it, and I was like, no, this is what we need to do. It's not really a good idea to kind of be doing a lot of like functional work and high intensity work when you're in a deficit, because you don't have the fuel to do so. And yeah, obviously my primary goal was to maintain as much muscle mass as I could whilst in that deficit, so that is what I did. But now I've come out of it, I'm just really enjoying kind of trialing different styles of training, a little bit more kind of intensity, mixing things up a little bit more functional work, a bit more kind of cardio work, because I really like the ability to do it all. Like, I like feeling strong, but I also like feeling really fit, and I want to just basically improve in all areas. That is week 2. I shall keep you updated.
So it is day 5 of week 2 of the Reverse Diet Diaries. And I am so happy. So I'm feeling really good. So at the beginning of the week, I was on my period. So my weight kind of was up a little bit, but it was okay. Like, it was kind of maintaining at that weight. And now it has started to actually move down. So it is pretty much maintaining from where I was at the end of my cut, which is very, very exciting. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying kind of having like different training styles, like just doing something a little bit different and obviously feeling more fueled. So, what am I gonna do? Say hi, Roro. Say hi, Roro. Say hello. Say hey. Say hi. Yeah. So, it is now Friday, so obviously, like I said, my weight has kind of like maintained, pretty much maintained, but actually like it's starting to come down a little bit. So I'm going to keep my calories the same for the next kind of 2 days. Obviously keep everything where it is, and then at the end of the week then kind of assess my average, and then my calories will be going up next week, which is so exciting. So my goal, like full transparency, my goal is to increase my calories by another kind of like 300 to 400 in total. So by the end of the reverse, like I know pretty much where I want to be at because I know what roughly my maintenance is. So obviously the thing with maintenance is as well is it's a range. It's not just like, oh, I don't know, like 2,500 calories or something. Like it's a range because realistically as well, you're going to have like different days where you eat different amounts. So for me, for example, like I know that generally, what is going on with this lighting? I know that generally I eat more like on the weekends because I have more social occasions. I go out for, you know, like coffee and cake a little bit more. So I know that I like to have that extra flexibility. So for me, my maintenance range is going to be like an average of my week plus my weekend. So kind of I know like in my head where that is at. And then obviously the goal by the end of the reverse is to have built it back up to a good level where I can maintain. And I'm just really excited to see kind of how my body responds as well, because like I said, I am changing up my training, which again is really, really exciting. And yeah, that is pretty much that. So by the end of the reverse as well, my goal is to just move away from calorie tracking again. So for me, tracking is a tool. It's not something that I do very often, I'll be honest. Like I use it as a tool. So whenever I am in a dieting phase, like I will obviously track my calories because that's just for me the most effective way. Like I don't have any kind of issues or anything with tracking anymore. Like I used to be quite obsessed with it, used to find it quite obsessive. Now like it just is what it is. So yeah, so that's obviously a really, really good thing. And yeah, that is pretty much that. That is pretty much me. That is pretty much this week and how it's gone. And I'll give you another update soon. Hello guys, welcome to week 4. I did a week 3 update on my Instagram story on Friday. To be honest, I'm losing track of time. We're now basically in week 4 of the reverse diet, which is very, very exciting, and we have had some further changes. So essentially I have kind of like made little changes throughout. So what I've done is basically worked out kind of where my weight is at, what my average weekly calories have been, and then kind of increased it from there. So I haven't really looked at kind of daily totals too much from the kind of like second week onwards, because what I've started doing is calorie cycling. So what I did was the first week, obviously, like I said, I made those small changes. The second week then, I basically decided to start calorie cycling. So over the weekend, I had a higher amount of calories. I still continued to drop weight on this. So I basically then worked out what my weekly calories were across the week. And then I basically added to this. So I added then 700, which obviously then equates to another 100 average per day. So basically week 1, I went up by 200 on average, 200 per day. Week 2 was 250, so another 250. And then this week now I've increased by another 100. So first week went up by 200, second week went up by another 250, and the third week went up by 100, and I'm actually up by another 100 this week. So on average now, my daily total calories in week 4 are up by 650 per day, which is so exciting. So like I said, I am kind of using like a weekly total. So yeah, so on average, we are in week 4, calories are up by 650 per day. My cardio and steps are pretty much exactly where they have been, to be fair. My steps, I say average was kind of slightly lower, maybe kind of like 500 lower per day than last week, but still between like 11 and 12k. And yeah, that is week 4. So I'm guesstimating that it's going to be another couple of weeks, because I really want to kind of push this as much as I can and see where we can get to. But yeah, I shall keep you guys updated. Hello, so we are now in week 5 of the reverse. Week 4 was definitely a success. Like it went really, really well. I did, because I was going home for the weekend, I did leave a lot, like more calories for the weekend. So I did have 3 kind of higher calorie days over the weekend, which was absolutely fine. And it did give me a lot more flexibility, because it did mean that then I did take 2 days off tracking, which is the beauty of a kind of reverse, I suppose, especially at this stage. Like obviously you want to kind of be consistent with your reverse, but obviously I am now, like I was 4 weeks in, you know, and I am always a big advocate of kind of like memories over macros. I didn't go crazy or anything like that. I did obviously eat a lot more than normal. Like we had a Chinese
Chinese takeaway. We had like more cakes, like obviously more coffee and cake and things like that. But yeah, it was just so nice and I just absolutely loved it. Because of that then obviously it just meant that I didn't track for a few days. So obviously it would be kind of impossible for me to be like, oh yeah, this amount of calories has this impact. So basically what I decided to do, especially because I did feel a little bit sluggish coming into this week, is I basically kept my weekly calories exactly the same this week. Obviously we're now in week 5, but I've just divided them up slightly differently. So I've just given myself a little bit more throughout the week and then slightly kind of less than I did last weekend for this weekend. So they're just a little bit more consistent. Still more calories on the weekend, but just, yeah, not as many as last weekend. But my weight has actually kind of like shot up a little bit. So obviously I wasn't at home Monday, so I couldn't weigh. I didn't weigh yesterday, which was Tuesday. I got on the scales this morning and I'm pretty much 1.5 kg up. But there are so many factors to consider. So last week, obviously, like I said, I had that weekend where I did eat a lot more. My digestion did suffer. I did feel quite kind of like lethargic and a little bit sluggish as well, like coming into this week. So I could feel that I hadn't drunk as much and I hadn't eaten as well. And I'm also due on my period in a few days as well. So obviously there's a lot of factors to consider. I also ate dinner really late last night and things like that. So I'm honestly not really that bothered about like the scale change. As always, I'll just get straight back into weighing from today. Just kind of, you know, keep weighing across the rest of the week and then look at what the average is and kind of see how that works out. But yeah, I'm thinking that I'm going to do another probably 1 to 2 weeks. I think I'm feeling like I'm getting up to my higher maintenance now, and then once I've kind of established that, then I am going to move away from tracking. Hello my loves, so we are back with another update. I think this is week 6. I'll be so honest, I feel like I've just lost track completely. I don't even know when I last gave you an update, but I think in my last update I basically said that because I had a weekend off tracking, I was basically keeping my calories the same the week after, but I was just going to cycle them in a slightly different way. So my weekly calories were going to be the same, my steps were the same, cardio was the same, training was the same, etc, etc. Anyway, we are now in week 6 and we are definitely nearing the end. So this week I have just increased by 50 per day. So last week I felt like it was a really good like level for me in terms of I had enough kind of fuel throughout the week. I also had enough like kind of flexibility on the weekends as well to be able to do what I want to do. So yeah, so this week, so I know that for me is like a really, really good place to be, and also it was where I maintained weight as well. So this week I just added 50 per day. I haven't changed like the split of calories or anything like that. Literally just kept them the same as last week, but I have increased by 50. But the reason that I think I'm definitely coming towards the end is because my weight is definitely starting to plateau a little bit more. I did actually get like a slight spike on the scales, but obviously I also have my period to consider, so obviously I won't be able to kind of see like exactly what impact it's had until a little bit later on in the week, maybe even into next week. But yes, my steps are kind of more around like 10k now. So my steps were 12k. They are kind of averaging more like 10 to 11. So obviously they have dropped slightly. But yeah, my weight is just starting to kind of plateau a little bit more. But honestly, like I'm really, really happy with kind of where I've built it to. Hey guys, so I have now pretty much finished my reverse. So I can't remember the last time I actually did an update. I think it was 2 weeks ago when I spoke about the fact that I was keeping everything the same. Since then, if I have done an update on this, I already apologise. Since then, the week after that, I decided to increase my calories by a further 50 per day. And I'm going to wrap it up there. I had that week and then we went away last week. We went to Cornwall for a few days, and honestly, like I am just so happy with where I've got to at the minute. I'm happy with where my food is at. I'm happy with the way that kind of like my physique is held. I've pretty much maintained everything whilst obviously increasing my calories by quite a lot, which is exactly what I wanted to do. I've got what I wanted out of it, and since coming back I just haven't got that same drive to keep pushing with the reverse. Like I feel like I'm at a really, really good level where I'm fueling my body enough to push hard and train hard. And yeah, I'll be honest, I've just got no interest in getting back into calorie counting and back into the reverse. Like I've pretty much hit the peak anyway of where I would be at, and I'm fully aware of that as well. Obviously with the reverse there is only so far you can hit it, like otherwise everyone would do it and just, you know, eat endless amounts of food. So yeah, so that is pretty much kind of where I've wrapped up with, and yeah, I am super, super happy with how it's gone. So just to recap, I have pretty much increased my calories by 700 to 750 per day, and I'm still maintaining the same physique, the same weight and everything as I was at the end of my cut. So the first week I increased by 200, the second week I increased by 250, and then the third week I increased by another 100. What I did start to to do at this point was also calorie cycle. So I started to actually look at my weekly calories and then add, say, if I was going up by 100 per day, obviously I just added 700 across the week and then kind of divided this up as I wanted to. Week 4, I added another 100 calories. So by this point, I was up by 650 calories per day. Week 5, I kept everything exactly the same because, as I said, I'd had a few days of like not tracking, a few days at home. So my weight had spiked a little bit, but obviously because I'd had 4 days, I think it was 3 days actually, of not tracking, I didn't really have the figures to therefore be able to kind of go, oh yeah, this is the impact that it's had. So I just kept everything the same. I'm back and I'm in a different location because my camera ran out of battery, which is very annoying. But yes, as I was saying, week 6, I decided to increase by another 50 per day. So that has taken me up to another 750 calories per day since the end of my cut, and I have pretty much maintained weight. So I think currently I am about 0.4 kg up from where I was at the end of my cut. But my physique still looks the same, but obviously I'm eating a lot more food now, which is so enjoyable. But yeah, I'm just kind of in a position now where I'm like, do you know what, I've done, you know, I did a 6-month bulk, I did a 12-week cut, 10 to 12 week, can't quite remember, 10 to 12 week cut. I've done a 6-week reverse, and I'm just in a position now where I'm just like, do you know what, I want to just have a break. Like for me, like I don't do these things to kind of like always do them either. Like I do them because I'm like, I have specific goals at that time. Right now I don't have a specific goal. My goal is to literally just live my life. So yeah, so I'm gonna pretty much be kind of wrapping up the reverse here, which is why I'm wrapping up this video. But hopefully it's just given you an insight into why a reverse is actually really important and how, like, what impact it can have. So when I did my last dieting phase in October, I didn't actually reverse out of it properly. This was the first like proper reverse that I've done. So yeah, when I did my last diet in October, didn't reverse out of it properly. I actually went straight on holiday, which was not a good move, because I literally gained back every single bit of weight that I had lost. And as well, obviously, like we were all inclusive, so I was eating different foods, like I wasn't eating the same sort of things. And yeah, I pretty much gained back everything that I'd lost as well, which was very annoying. Like don't get me wrong, like I knew I should have reversed out of it properly, but I probably didn't even kind of myself understand like how important a reverse was or how much it could make a difference. So yes, it's definitely like been a huge lesson for me as well, in terms of like how important it actually is and how much you can actually push with it as well. So yeah, that is pretty much that, to be fair. So the goal for me now is literally just to maintain, like to go into a maintenance phase, just move away from tracking for a little bit, really just kind of find a routine and a style of training that I enjoy. So yeah, so that's the kind of plan for me now, is to just move into maintenance phase, enjoy fueling my body, live my life. Obviously it's summer now, which is very exciting. We are going on a big trip in 3 months as well, which obviously I am so excited about. I haven't spoken about it yet, and I won't be speaking about it until we're there, because we're surprising a few people. But yeah, that is pretty much that. If you do have any questions at all on reverse dieting, please just let me know. But yes, there is no right or wrong when it comes to reverse dieting. Like you have to do what works for you. The same with so many things in health and fitness and like dieting or cutting or bulking, whatever. Your body is your body. Like how your body responds and what you do is going to be up to you. The biggest tip that I can give is treat your reverse diet with as much consistency and as much discipline as you do your deficit, because if you do that, you are going to have so much structure that you can then build on, and you're going to really be able to see what is working and what is not. If you go into your reverse and maybe you're not tracking properly, maybe you're having a few days off tracking, you know, like every single week, like obviously I've had a few days off, but it was literally once. If you're taking, you know, like a few days off every single week, maybe you're not tracking accurately, maybe you just suddenly drop all your training, you're then not going to know what variable is having that effect. You're not going to know kind of like how to progress forward. So I would definitely say treat it with as much discipline as you do your deficit. And if you do that for a solid kind of 6 weeks, and you are constantly kind of weighing up everything and looking at, okay, what is the, you know, what is the impact? Like if you're weighing daily, like what impact is that having on average per week? You know, how is that moving? Is that in the direction that you want? If it is, amazing. Like how can you push forward further with that? You know, can you drop your calories? Can you increase your calories? Can you drop your exercise down anymore? Like can you reduce your steps a little bit? Like really have a look at kind of all those factors, and obviously also bearing in mind things like your stress, your sleep, your menstrual cycle. And yeah, if you do that for, I would say, like, again, it depends, but probably like between 4 to 6 weeks, you're then going to be in such a good position to then kind of hold that and maintain that. So yeah, that is the biggest piece of advice I can give. In terms of how much you should increase by weekly and how much you should drop cardio by and then drop steps by, that is going to depend entirely on you and how your body reacts as well.
But yes, I would say just keep as much data as you possibly can. So weigh every day, take an average across the week, like track every calorie, you know, still make sure that you're tracking your steps and you're hitting goals and you're, you know, you're really, really on top of it. Because if you are, then again, you're going to have so much data to work with. So you're really going to be able to see where to pull things and where to push things and what variables can change. If you don't have that much data, or maybe you're not being as like accurate, you're not being as consistent, it is going to make your life so much harder. But your reverse is such a good opportunity to push those calories back up. Like I said, my calories are now 700 to 750 higher per day, or like on average per day, than they were at the end of my cut, and that's you know, that's massive, that's a big chunk. But yeah, any questions at all, just drop them in the comments. But thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.